Here we are. We're live.
Drinking my weed, how good I feel. Drinking my weed, and I'm for real. I'm drinking my weed. Drink my weed. I drink my pee and I feel free.
Uh-oh.
Drinking my pee.
We got disconnected. It says connected.
Why do you say we got disconnected?
Well, because it's trying to reconnect. Oh, nah. I don't know.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. We're still...
What's up, y'all?
We're trying to reconnect to the Facebook for some reason.
This is a very bad connection.
And we got a bad connection, and the YouTube is seemingly working, and Facebook is like, I don't know. It's really, we're being tested by our bandwidth. But we're going to just work this out one way or the other. So, we're coming to you live from Warrentown, Missouri. We got to check our frequencies because we just got disconnected from Facebook. And so we are going to be here with our special guest, Gerald Guevara, and we're going to bring him on the phone. We're going to be talking about some isms. And so we got a lot of isms that we're going to cover. And the one we're going to really focus on is agism. But when you think about isms in these regards, it is a broad scale of isms that we're looking at. There's agism, sexism, racism. And all of these are really found absolutely with our urine therapy, that it crosses all lines. There is no shortage of understanding and connection with PP people. Our we people all seem to have a deep understanding, a great appreciation, and a pure love energy. We're all on the same frequency. We don't have limits based on any of these things, race, sex, or age. So I'm excited about this conversation because we are apps, and we found out that especially at the Water Life Symposium, there was just a unilateral connection, and there was no barriers. There was no age indifference, no sex indifference, and no race indifference. Everybody was on board with the love, the unity, the community, and it is beautiful. I have been connecting with people all around the world and having like amazing video chats with some remarkable people, and we are connecting everywhere. Now, I want to introduce our guest because I met Gerald online on Facebook months before we ever got to actually physically meet at the symposium, and our hearts were already deeply involved in each other, and I recognized the amazing energy, talent, and creativity of this young man. And he has an amazing story. And I'm going to welcome him in and let him share some of his story so that we can introduce him properly. So, Gerald, are you with me there?
Hey, how's it going, Casey?
Oh, it's awesome. Here he is. So, why don't you go ahead and start, tell us a little bit about your background, and let's kind of take it from there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm going to come at it from a different angle than what we talked about before. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have plenty of time to get into everything, but I want to start off with the most pertinent when it comes to including UT. I realize that when I look into my past and my childhood, I realize that it's not different than what kids are going through right now and what a lot of people are going through continually. So, as far back as I can remember, I had a lot of health issues. I had a lot of issues with asthma and getting sick quite often. And, when I marry the research that I've been doing into all these supposed conspiracies against our health, and I look back at my past, it becomes very clear. When I look back into my past, I remember nonstop vaccinations. I remember a lot of injections. I remember eating a lot of cereal, which I know is now laden. I remember heavy meat and dairy consumption, heavy pharmaceutical exposure. So that's a lot of inhalers, a lot of antibacterial medications, and all those put together kind of made my background and my history being in and out of the hospital very not surprising. Okay, so I grew up getting hospitalized with asthma, and that kind of set me up for an addiction to suppressive foods. Lo and behold, I think that's what we're all going through in America right now, where we have all of these emotional, physical ailments, and the foods that we are all addicted to kind of suppress that. Okay, so that's where I was at around 18. Not only was I being negative and bad to my health, I was negative in general. I joined I was in and out of juvenile hall, throughout high school. And then by the time I got expelled from high school, I ended up in prison by the age of 18. At the same time, I was 40 pounds overweight. I was addicted to crystal meth. I was addicted to alcohol. I was addicted to everything, weed, pornography, all those things. I think these are common threads here. So that's why I'm going ahead and throwing them out there, because I don't think that I'm the only one that has suffered or continues to suffer from these so-called addictions. Now, in prison, I was allowed to work on myself, no more distractions, and I was allowed to, really start to uncover what parts of me were real and what parts of me were an illusion. And some of that was, as as we met through the thing that we have in common, which is poetry. I've always been writing poetry. I was a 7-year-old. I was into poetry, but I stopped for a long time. And so I started working on my health in a heavy way, started exercising, and through pushing for progress on my health, I improved my whole life. By the time I got out of prison, I was helping other people lose weight. I visualized myself becoming a personal trainer and helping tons of people fix their life through their health. And, it's been 7 years now, and I've been just an awesome personal trainer ever since. I've been getting better and better every year, and I'm helping tons of people change their lives. And now I'm going into speaking to youth about not giving up on yourself. That's what I did when I was a youth. I gave up on myself, and about how taking control of your health can improve your whole life. And so now that's my message. That's what I'm about. But I'm also a big, huge conspiracy buff, because, while I was in prison, I probably read around 200 books. And so I got really interested in occult knowledge and esoteric knowledge, and kind of marrying that with my current experience of, prison and all that. It becomes just a very interesting thing to study. The other thing that I'm very interested in studying is the social engineering aspect of urine therapy, and it's very interesting just going into all of that. So that's just a quick intro. I'm very passionate about health because of all of the problems that I've been through. I'm passionate about sharing that, and my current mission is ever evolving. I'm thinking about starting a youth health program, which is what kind of all of this is turning into. Ultimately, that was my main struggle in life, was health as a youth. So I think that's there you go. There you have it, Casey.
Oh, well, you know, I was inspired by you from the very first time I laid eyes on you, quite frankly. And I think I immediately friended you, started commenting and, you know, being a cheerleader, so to speak, to inspire you to continue with your pursuit, because I've been a mic commando for a long time, so I am perfectly comfortable in front of cameras, on stage, and on mics. And I realized when you were starting out, you were a little, you know, a little hesitant, so to speak. You weren't fully confident. Would that be a correct statement?
That's exactly right.
And I have done everything I know how in my coaching abilities to encourage you and support you and know that you are on track. And I just have great confidence in your capacity, your ability, your message, and your mission. And I am so, yeah, I'm honored, and I thank you.
Thank you. You know, it grows with every experience. That's what I'm learning. There's nothing that I can go out and read that will give me more confidence than just actually stepping up and putting myself out there. It grows with every experience. And I'm sure you know that, Casey. I'm sure you already know that.
Yeah, I remember the very first time I was brought in front of a group of people, and I was in a seminar, and it was in Newark, New Jersey at the Holiday Inn. And I was brand new in a multi-level marketing, and I'd only been in about a month or so, and there was a leader that was up from Virginia, and he was conducting the meeting. And at the end of it, he said, is anybody here fairly new and, you know, have any, you know, and so I just raised my hand, and he pointed me out. He already knew I was already numbered. Standing in front of this hotel room full of people, you know, telling my story, and it was a great awakening. You know, I learned really rapidly how to get past my limitations and my fears of speaking to people, because up until that moment, I couldn't hold a conversation with two people simultaneously. You know, and yeah, so, you know, it was a opportunity that presented itself and helped me to recognize that I have no fears, that there's nothing to be afraid of except yourself. And when you give yourself permission to get out of your own way, right?
Well, that took me about 2 years of sitting in my bedroom in a little cave, you know, just visualizing but at a certain point, you realize that there's only one way to get started, and it's the best thing after you finally start, because after that first time, it's kind of like I finally have this piece of clay that I can start molding, and that's really what it is. It's a sculpture, and you're never done. You know, you're never done sculpting that clay. So it's just fun to be finally started, honestly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even for me at this point, you know, in preparation of today, now, we were shifting gears. We realized that we couldn't accomplish what we really truly wanted to do, which was to go on broadband radio and go on Facebook and YouTube all simultaneously. And right now we can't even connect to Facebook. In preparation today, you know, I get, you know, butterflies, but I think I told you this in a recent conversation that, you know, butterflies are just simply energy waiting to be released. And once we open up our hearts and get into the flow, it just, you know, it just happens. It's a natural order.
Yes, and you know, there's no limit to the reach of this conversation, no matter what format you choose to release it on. It's there, and it's going to be there for ages for anybody that wants to reach out and listen to it. That's the beauty of this new era, right, of digital media. It's like it's always going to be live to the person that's clicking it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's a beautiful thing.
And we have you know, I'm getting little messages here on my YouTube. There are people that are checking in, and so I welcome you.
Awesome. Good. Glad to have you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Tell
let's
me
go
your,
into it.
you know, now I just want to preface that by Danny D, my super DJ here. He's 20 years old, and I'm 64 years old. And
I'm 28, so there you go.
yeah, and you know, I find that we have absolutely zero separation in our heart connections, in our mind connections, in our experience.
Yes, it's crazy.
It's awesome.
So speaking on that, we're all officially in different age brackets, right? We're in different demographics, quote unquote, right? And so what ageism really is it's the same thing as racism and sexism. It's something that was put in there, in place, in front of us, in order to separate us, in order to segment, separate, because as long as we look at ourselves as separate from each other, because that's what it all comes down to, is I'm different from you because you're this, I'm that. It doesn't matter if it's black or white or Generation X or Generation Y or male or female. If I look at myself and I separate myself from you because of whatever difference was put there, I become easier to manage. That's what it all comes down to. That's what I'm going to always say when it comes down to the same thing: ageism, racism, sexism. Now with ageism, it's very fascinating because if you look at it, the first way is the decades, the idea that there's the 20s and the 30s and the 40s. They give each decade its theme. And so the people that come through that decade adopt that theme and they say, this is me. The 80s, that's me. And then they hold on to that into the 90s, to the 2000s, and they say, I'm 80s, this is me. All right? And so what that does is it allows people to adopt an identity of whatever you listening to that music and having that style as to separate you from all the other decades. And then the other side of it is the generations. They have us thinking that this is last generation and that was this generation, when in reality, okay, babies just keep getting born, and babies have always been getting born, and they don't happen in waves, so to speak. That just makes it easier to organize. Can you kind of tell that if you keep looking at it as, well, those generation they're talking about, and if you could group the whole generation, that's a lot of people, and there's not really the boundaries. There's always shifting the years. You can always shift it around and say, no, the kids born between the 74 and the 84 is a certain generation, and it just makes it easier to group people up, talk about them, label them, and manage them ultimately, right? So that's my little thing on what I think ageism is.
Well, you know, I grew up in the, I was born in the 50s, raised in the 60s, and my very first real collective where I felt really accepted certainly started with the Beatles for me. And I finally found something that I resonated to, and then we moved to the city, and all of a sudden I was in the counterculture, and I became a hippie. Now, you know, I felt at home completely in that alignment, but that was my first real grasp of separation. And, you know, so I started realizing selected as an outsider. This continued throughout my life, okay? So it started with being a hippie, you know, then, you know, as I went on, you know, I had this huge Amway business. Again, my friends and family, and thought, oh, God, here he goes. He's an Amway now. And then, you know, time goes on, and, you know, I'm a vegan. Oh, criminy. Now, you know, he quit drinking, no. You know, and oh, God, he believes that the earth is flat. And oh, God, he drinks his pee, you know. Because honestly, until I started connecting with the P energy and the P community, I have never, ever felt as comfortable, confident, and in community and communion as I do now. I'm talking to people all over the world. I have video chats with people we were on the phone the other night we were in the UK, well, actually in Wales, and having an awesome chat with Jack Catran. And you know, for me, I am not separated at all. I am not separated by age, by race. I mean, my closest, all of my homies, you know, everybody, A.K. King. This is a beautiful brother. I love this man. You know, Tony Hill, you know, Danielle. I mean, these are awesome humans. And, you know, just even yesterday, now this is curious, I had a subscriber, I have a subscriber who had videos of allegedly Dave. She had seen videos of Andrew. Until she saw one of my videos, she just said, forget it, I'm in. And she started drinking her pee. So she reached out to me yesterday, and we ended up connecting. We were on the phone for a couple hours, you know, and I connected her with Rosalind. I mean, we are connecting.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing. There is no ism here.
Right. And so let's just push forward here and talk about how you know, to all of the isms. And I touched briefly on that when I got to speak at the UT conference, is what UT does in a esoteric or in a as above way of seeing. What it does on a so below way is it breaks down those toxins, right, inside of your body. Urine goes back into your body and it breaks down toxins and it gets things flowing. Now, it does the same thing socially, is what I'm trying to say. Is there are things that have been set forth from generations before, social engineered boundaries, okay? We're not supposed to be talking with people of all ages. We are not supposed to be mixing races and talking all together like this in a way that it doesn't matter how old you are or what you believe. Now, so that makes urine therapy a very volatile concept, because if there are powers that be that are dedicated to keeping us separated, divided, segmented, what this does is threaten all of their work. So when I look at the social engineering aspect, okay, of what has been done as a groundwork against urine, I can see that the groundwork has been laid for generations and generations when I look against urine in like almost every movie. And so truth resonates. Truth doesn't have to be repeated. Truth resonates. There's a ring of truth in information. And lies need to be constantly reinforced, constantly repeated like a drum. You got to keep beating that drum if it's a lie, right? And so when I think about urine therapy and watch tons of movies, I can see that they've been beating this drum a long time, to where now when you bring up this subject to any average person been watching TV their whole life, there is just as of a volatile reaction. Interesting thing to observe as somebody who's on the other side of the pond, so to speak, right? Who knows that there's nothing wrong with drinking your own urine, and all of these things that I witness in movies and you know, music or whatever that kind of reinforce the idea that urine is poisonous. I know that that's all. I can see that and mark that down. It's just more social programming.
Yes. Now, how long have you been drinking?
So let me just quickly go. You know, all I have for you for this whole conversation is my story. So might as well just go into it, right?
Yeah.
You know, and my story of how I got open enough to this kind of idea. I grew up very invested and committed. Well, I was good at science and math. I was brought into that idea. I loved Greek mythology. I loved, you know, I loved just the idea of Newtonian science. I loved it all, you know, and when I was in school. But I kind of gave up on it around the middle there, around high school, middle school. However, I held on to those beliefs as I you know, as I changed into, you know, being an adult, whatever that means. You know, so for me, it was a hard thing for me to wrap my head around. Now, when I was in prison, I changed a lot of my beliefs. I kind of realized that a lot of things that we believe aren't true, beginning with prison is where the worst people of the worst are. It is just this terrible place where everybody gets raped, and there's always killing there. You know, I had that belief because when you watch the movies and listen to the music, that's what the prison is. So when I got there and I saw prison is just another demographic of society where you have crazy people, but you also have a certain number of very smart people. You have a certain number of normal people. You have a certain number of gay people. There's everything there, just like there's everything on the streets of any city in America. So I realized that, wait, it's not what it was all cracked up to be. What else is not what it's cracked up to be? I started to ask questions about what else am I being shown in the movies and in the media that's not really what it's like. So lo and behold, that prison experience was something that sparked his curiosity in me. So when I was in prison, my brother started sending me all this spiritual information, started getting me into meditation, getting me into health, getting me to realize that eating better is a lot more for than just your body. You know, you got body, mind, and spirit, you know, so he started getting into that mindset of thinking holistically. And when my brother first criticized him for about 6 months, I said, "You're crazy. Oh my God, here we go. Here's my brother." Just like I'm sure your family criticized you, I was criticizing my brother, like, okay, you got me at meditation, but what the hell is this, you know? But the way that he got me to start thinking about it was he found, somehow he found a video of somebody that I respect. Like, I have a lot of podcasts that I follow, a lot of podcasts that I support, and a lot of teachers and gurus out there that I listen to. And he found a video of somebody that I highly respect talking about urine therapy, and I never would have thought that video existed, but it was there. And it was this guy, Seven Bomar, the spiritual leader out there, talking about the advent of, not the advent, but the idea of urine therapy. And I was like, oh man, okay. And I'll never forget the first time that I tried my own urine, because as soon as I did, I started dancing, and it was crazy. It was just this heavenly experience. And I would say that everything changed from that moment, because I realized that from that moment on, my health was in my hands. Completely, 100% and completely, and I'm sure you've had that same experience. So, just to put it in a nutshell, a lot of friction at first, because I was fully bought into the Western system, but all that stuff started to break down once I had that first experience. It's been about 3, maybe going on 4 years now.
Awesome.
That I've been practicing. Yep.
Yeah, and it's funny you mention Savan, because Daniel just turned me on to one of his videos like 2 days ago.
Yeah, Gerald, I'm curious. I didn't know that Seven has even ever spoke on urine therapy.
Man, he touches on it. He touches on it. He touched on it during an interview one time, and I don't have the video anymore, but I know that if you listen to the Keymaker series, if you guys listen to his Keymaker series, he touches on it briefly, and he talks about it very nonchalantly. Just like their urine as a form of healing, but he goes way more into it about drinking your tears and things like that. There's a lot more to it, So yeah, and just having that general, anything spiritual, right? Just having that general respect for anything that comes out of the human body, anything, and all of the fluids,
When I'm coming up, on 11 months now, and it took me 2 days. I watched a video. I was watching a video with the Allegedly Day program in Europe, and he was actually the reason he was there. He was explaining flat Earth, and I was looking at flat Earth at the time, and then I really liked Dave. I really liked his humor. I liked his style. I liked his knowledge. And so I went ahead and started searching more videos of him. And that's when I found him and Andrew Norton Webber. And then I listened to several of those, and that's when the urine therapy came up. And I went, wait a minute, what did they just say? They're drinking their pee? Really? And I'm thinking, that's so curious. I wonder why, And so I didn't get disgusted. I was curious. And it only took me 2 days to finally realize, what am I waiting for? And so it was interesting because I was in the list and preparing for surgery on my hands because my hands were arthritic to the point where I couldn't even open a bottle. And so I started on January 23rd that morning, and I went to my hand therapist, and I told her, and she was like, she freaked out, you know, she just immediately like, you know, wait a minute, you know, you're here and you're touching my hands and da-da-da-da-da, and I said, slow down, girl, you know, like, you're tripping now. And it was just crazy, but I jumped in full bore myself. I totally trusted that what I had learned was valid, and so I didn't question it at that point. Distilled water, and combined with the two, I was doing a gallon a day, and within 10 days, my arthritis had subsided, like really completely out of my hands. You know, I stopped taking all medications after 2 weeks, and I was just like, I'm on a roll. I mean, I had more energy, I had more flexibility, I had more clarity, and everything about it was just rocking my world. I mean, and you know, I've lost friends. My sons won't talk to me. You know, I mean, I've paid a high price for pee, but you know what? At the same time, I have expanded my universe. The High Vibe tribe is alive, and it's all over the world. And because of that, I am grateful. I don't feel like I'm isolated. I feel like I'm liberated.
That's amazing. So let's talk about it. I wanted to just kind of just talk about where I am and my story, because, you know, again, going back to the fact that there's probably a lot of people out there that haven't stepped through the veil. There's a lot of social fear out there. I just want to talk about how I'm not this social construct as we speak. And so since I know that there might be other people out there experiencing it, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it, you know, at my job, at my work. And this is why I don't talk about urine therapy openly on Facebook, is because right now I live and work in the heart of the Bay Area. And if you want to talk about social control and, you know, political correctness, I believe that I live in one of the capitals of that, being the Bay Area. There's people that are just completely bought into the system 100%. That's a part of why I have so much work out here, because people are damaging their health, you know. So at my job, the current narrative of nutrition and health is completely opposite of what my beliefs are. They promote high protein. It's still the whole paleo diet, ketosis, eating high fat, high protein food to lose weight, high vegetables, low fruit intake. So tell you where they are with the whole idea of drinking urine. I could probably lose my job if I start talking about it, or if I start being open about it with my Facebook, being that my Facebook is a point of connection with work, where we check in, the clients check in with me on Facebook, and I have to kind of keep pushing the narrative of what we talk about at my work. So you know, that's for me as a fitness coach. I'm like supposedly a health leader, and I am struggling with this whole kind of truth movement, as in there's this push-pull of I want to scream the truth at the top of my so kind of just that's kind of the aspect I have going into it. And again, looking at it and studying the social engineering aspect is just kind of even more fascinating. But that's kind of where I am with my work and with I am with the messaging. I mean, another aspect is I want to be a youth speaker. I want to speak in schools and high schools, and I definitely see that hot button topic as something that could be used against me. Honestly,
yes,
just to be quite honest,
well,
it can be used against me. You know?
And you aren't alone in that. And I have many friends that face the same dilemma. And I mean, even Gerald Roth, who is going to be joining us, Brother Sage, he's going to be coming up in a future program. He just came out of the closet just this last week. And you know, decided it was time. Now, the only thing I had to lose is You know, I had to lose whoever I thought was my friends and family, but you know, and I'm okay with that because I mean, for years I've felt and not understood at all. You know, and every choice I made, people were like, "Oh God," you know, and I'm like, "Oh, you know, hell with you," because I had to be okay with myself, and this is where you know, when I found the urine therapy, man, I jumped out. I just started, you know, and I started feeling the backlash immediately from the ones around me. But at the same time, as I came and created Weedu Shivambu, which is a story in itself, which I guess I'll take a moment to share that.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, you know, because people don't understand, okay? I mean, people look at Weedu and they think weed, you know, and that's okay because I smoke weed, you know, but you know, the whole idea meant. And when I realized it translated to urine therapy, I thought we do, you know, like, and so it was just yeah. It's like it simply means I do urine therapy, you know, and I thought we was perfect because of we. You know, the other word for
it's just a little triple play on words.
Exactly. You know? And so it's still, it comes up, you know, people are like, you know, like they think I'm Weedu Shivambu, and I am, you know. I mean, it's an AKA, it's another, you know, it's my alter ego, you know. And Casey Caban, you know, he is the creator behind Weedu Shivambu. You know, that's how it works. I don't have a split personality. I just stunt double. You know,
when it comes to branding,
dude just took on his own life. I mean, I had no idea how this was going to generate as it has, but it has. I mean, I have, you know, supporters from all walks of life on every single continent, every country in Europe. I mean, I'm planning on going to Europe next year. Because I have been invited to pretty much about every country there. You know, people say, yeah, they say, hey man, you can stay here. We'll feed you, man. Just get here.
That's the frequency right there that you tapped into right there.
Yeah, and who knew? I mean, you know, my dear friend Roz, she's been doing it, you know, her whole life. Monica Schute's been doing it for 20 years. You know, I mean, I know people, but. You know, it doesn't matter when you start. You know, if I ask people, if not you, who? If not now, when? When are you going to take control of your life? When are you going to wake up and smell your pee, man? When are you going to start drinking that shit and clear up all that fog in your head? You know, start shifting all that energy, that decalcification, to start owning the fluid that's in your brain called pineal gland and pituitary gland, because these are the frequencies. That's the frequency. It's all there. It's a total inside job.
It's an inside job, yeah. And so let's talk about how there's a couple interesting dynamics to urine therapy. One of them, as Monica stated in her Facebook post, is that what urine therapy does is it aids and speeds up digestion and allows you to process pretty much anything with ease. Now, what that does to people with addictive personalities, okay, people with eccentric personalities like me, is it allows you to do it, okay, and a lot more junk food and without a lot of the ramifications. So we got to talk about this aspect of urine therapy because it is like a cheat code, okay? It is like having a weight loss cheat code where I've done urine therapy and eaten boatloads of food, drank loads of alcohol, and not gained weight. So we have to talk about the idea that there is a negative aspect to this, to having this awesome tool, right? There's also a positive aspect, right? So same thing that happened with Monica. She said that it allowed her to get to a new low of rock bottom, because what it allows you is make your body process a lot more drugs without all of the side effects. Like you normally wouldn't have much alcohol, but if you're sipping on your pee, you can, okay? But naturally what it did to me okay, because what urine is a feedback loop, okay, it allowed me to zero in on what's going on with things that I'm eating. I started to change the way I look at everything I'm eating. I started to think of it as a nutrient cycle, because now if I'm drinking my pee, every nutrient that I decide to put in my mouth is becoming recycled and coming back in an organic form via the pee. So now I'm thinking about, what do I want to be introduced into my nutrient cycle? What do I want to be recycling into my body, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth? And I started realizing that through taste and through intuition that, wait, meat and alcohol give me a certain taste and a certain feedback loop. I don't think I'm supposed to be eating so much of this stuff. And I was a meat and alcohol consumer when I first started drinking my pee. And what it slowly has done through years, not overnight, through years, it's become self-aware of that nutrient cycle. And now the stage I'm in is strict fruitarian, and what I learned is that you can't do that. You can't just jump from sad diet to fruitarian diet. That leads to ups and downs. It's already been written about. That, what's his name? I forgot this guy on Facebook that's already been written about. Like, you have to take this whole thing in stages. But what it's gotten me to do is quit meat and alcohol, you know, and I'm making my strides through the vegan towards raw vegan, and ultimately to the tippy top there, where, you know, it's totally living on nothing but electric foods. But yeah, it provides you with that constant feedback loop, and, you know, maybe not instant, but slow transformation. Maybe for you instant, maybe for people instant, you know, but ultimately for me, for nutrition, this slow, constant transformation, this slow, constant improvement, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, for me and my benefit, because 3.5 years, I have a plate in my neck that is screwed into 4 of my cervical vertebrae. Now, I had a long road to hoe on that one. It severed a lot of my vocal cords. It caused me a lot of nerve damage. The whole right side of my face here and part of my jaw was numb for a long time. And so I just figured that was going to be the way it is, you know. But the pain I was going through prior to the neck surgery disappeared, and that was worth it to me right there. Now, in my process, I went vegan. I was on Facebook, and I started getting more appreciation for the vegan idea. And so doing dairy, seafood, alcohol, cigarettes, man, I started this whole, I mean, I just was on a health roll that I'd never been on. I mean, I started smoking cigarettes at 8 years old, bro. I was drinking at 10 and doing psychedelics and smoking pot at 14. So I was having sex at 13. I mean, I had addiction after addiction.
You know, we're 2 peas in a pod.
Yeah.
Casey.
I mean, I was just obsessed by addiction. And, you know, so it wasn't until I got to the pee drinking that I went, and that's when I decided, that's when I started learning, okay, when I started reading Hilton Hotema's books and Dave Murphy's book, and started learning a lot more about nutrition and my body, which I'd never really paid attention to until then. And I was a professional chef. I knew how to make tasty food, but nutritional, that wasn't a part of the conversation. I wasn't trained in nutrition. I was tasty food. That's what I was trained in. And so when I started drinking my pee, I did it all. I started it right then. The morning I started drinking pee, I went fruitarian. I quit eating cooked food. I started drinking my pee, the water, and man, my body turned around so fast it rocked my world. I was like, get the fuck out of here. This fast? Really?
Cool. That is the power of the human body.
Oh, I mean, and so I became a absolute advocate. I mean, I just couldn't have any other conversation at that point. You know, if you have Lyme disease, if you have metallic toxins, if you have Alzheimer's, if you have cancer, look, whatever you did to your body to get you to that point, don't expect miracles overnight. It's not possible. I had been preparing my body because I'd already gone vegan and quit drinking. I was preparing my body for the inevitable change, which I didn't even see coming until it came. But when it arrived, I was on board. It was effortless for me. It made perfect sense to me.
Isn't it interesting to think about this as something that used to be, like, there was a point where this was completely natural for everybody in society, where this was just a normal. What it took to step us down from that, because to all of us who already are in our water, so to speak, right? It seems like a normal thing because it's like it was always there and it's at arm's reach, honestly. So what it took to step us down from that, I can't imagine, like, how much time and effort and resources it took to get us to the state that we are at now. Because now, for me, it's the marker for the level of social engineering is the level of reaction that you have to this topic. Here we are. We have the benchmark of how engineered are you, okay? How do you feel about urine therapy? Because that's how engineered you become. Because this is one of the most human, natural, from my now radical mindset, right? From my now radical perspective, this is one of the most human behaviors that one can do.
Well, here it is, 5,000 years of recorded history, and it was recorded by the Roman Greeks, the Egyptians, the Aztecians, the Mayans, as the medicinal way. Now, it didn't change until the late 1800s, the real late 1800s, when it got hijacked by allopathic medicine. And this was instrumental to know that it was Rockefeller, specifically, and the banksters that were also behind it, that wanted to totally shift out of all naturopathic means, all of them. Every modality became taboo. Like you were just another snake oil salesman if you had things, and they have built on those blocks in order to totally hijack the health of the Americans, not only, but across the plane. They have hijacked us away from naturopathic means, and the body count for dead doctors just keeps growing. It's amazing how many doctors have been 86'd because of their practices.
It seems to me that, like, the whole, as you said, hijacking of our knowledge of our internal healing powers and our health those are the chains that bind us. Because as long as we are in fear of our health, we will be subjugated, and we're going to follow those who have the keys to our health, right, so to speak. And what UT represents in that is, like, these are the keys to your health. Here you go. Here is the keys to unlock the chains that bind us. Because how many millions of Americans or in westernized countries live in fear of their health every day? Just every day.
Yeah.
It's like a $1,500 bill. You're thinking about paying for your health insurance every month. You're living in fear.
Yeah.
Every day.
Well, and here's the thing is that, fear is the fuel that drives the engine. Okay? Now, it's not just in medicine and health. That goes for education, because you don't want to be stupid. You want to be educated. Okay? Now, that's hijacking our intelligence. And as Einstein put it in his succinct term, that education and intelligence are not the same thing. So, if you look at everything across the board, all news is based on fear. Everything is based on fear, because the only way you can control the masses is to keep them in fear, perpetually, permanently. And unless you can let go of fear and start opening up the love channel, and that's what I am. I have no other conversation. Zero fear, because love is the cure. And until you learn to love yourself, you're never going to love anybody else. That's just a misnomer. It's an inside job. So, P opens up all of those channels. It opens it up. Like, I would have never known or guessed it until I became an absolute practitioner, and as a result, it became perfectly clear.
Perfectly clear, just like the book.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer.
And that's how interesting it is, how clear it becomes once you get on the other side. But we have to be able to identify with just the huge amount of fear that people that aren't on this side of the pond feel, because, you know, whether I like it or not, you know, my significant other is on the other side of that pond, you know, and so at some point I have to be able to, you know, carry and understand, you know, how she feels and entertain how she feels and hold how she feels with regard. Like, there are people that just are so afraid of, and what I believe it is it's a subconscious self-hatred, that you think that what's coming out of your body is poison, you know, what's coming out of that magical place in your body, you know, that sacral place in your body, and you think that poison is coming out of that place. What does that lay the groundwork for the way that you feel about yourself? Versus if you really know that this is the cure, this is the magic, this is the thing that heals. I can use this thing and heal any animal. I can use this thing and heal other people even if I need to. You know, what the groundwork for the way that you feel about yourself. It's the difference between divine spark, that you know that, you know, you are not only healed, you are a healer, you know?
Yes, and I claim that. You know, I claim that I am a healer. And I put it even more succinctly, I'm a motivational healer. And so I share with anybody, everybody. And what I realize is not everybody is ready to be enlightened, to be awakened.
That's right. It's so true. That's a big important thing, is at their own time.
Yeah, I can't do intervention. I'm not going to impose my will. That is just batting at the breeze, man. Buddy, with an open mind, open heart, open ear, and open eyes, to walk into the paradigm shift and realize that their power has been hijacked, and you can restore that power in the blink of an eye. In the blink of an eye, you can restore your power. You can start by just learning to change your mind. Most people are self-sabotaging themselves out of any kind of way to get ahead, because they doubt themselves. They don't love themselves. They watch TV, they listen to commercials, they go to the malls, because the reason why it's so successful is because people never feel they qualify, that they're ever really good enough, that they're never going to be up to speed. But if I get these new Nikes, if I do this, if I do that, then I'm going to feel better, I'm going to look better, I'm going to be better.
Right.
Bullshit.
So touching on that, a big part of getting any kind of results, I don't care if you're trying to lose weight, I don't care if you're trying to reverse a disease, I don't care if you're trying to build a business, okay, a big part of getting those results is believing deep down in your heart that you deserve it, okay, because if you try to address all the other external topics, like planning it out, making the blueprint, taking the steps, talking to people, but if you don't believe on an internal level that you deserve, or that these things are yours, okay, you're always going to self-sabotage. I'm going through that experience right now. We have to address, well, the key to that is to just start thinking in the moment as if it's already true. I've already done this. When I first got out of prison, I wanted to be a personal trainer. I was a wanted, but I had this dream, and I sincerely believed in that dream and how to exercise. Now, at the time, I was in prison, and I probably had a different mindset of I just wanted to be in a room full of women. But lo and behold, these days, I spend most of my time teaching dozens and dozens of even hundreds of people per day how to lose weight and exercise. So, a big part of making your dream come true is really believing it and having that vision, and kind of storming towards that vision without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, that's kind of like what's going on now, and what's always been happening with me as far as making my dream poetry thing. I have this image of me sharing my poetry with people all over, you know.
Yeah, and you're a gifted writer. And I really, I honor you in a big way. And, you know, I have been a wordsmith and a poet for a really long time. And, you know, the reason I even started any of that was because I was psychoanalyzing myself. I was finding a way to get rid of the monsters in my head, because if I didn't write, I was troubling myself. I was burying myself. I was just getting layer upon layer upon layer of bad thinking.
Oh my God.
And
you're hitting me on the head right now with this.
Yeah, so, you know, the writing was releasing it. It was releasing it. And I became a prolific writer because I didn't want all this shit in my head at all.
Oh my God.
And so, you know, some of the writing is about love lost, love found, you know, politics, war, this, that, and the other. It didn't matter the subject matter. It was releasing the energy that I discovered in that process. And when I find troubled people, you know, that are struggling with a pad, start journaling, start releasing that energy, because as long as you keep storing it up inside, it's just going to fester. It'll recycle and recycle, and then it generates like seismically. It just multiplies and gets worse and worse and worse. You could be just a little bit miffed. And if you rethink that enough, all of a sudden, oh, I'm not just miffed, I'm getting a little angry. You know, and keep rethinking. Next thing you know, I'm really, really pissed off. I actually am raged. I think I'm going to kill somebody. And that's how it works. But in the same token, on the reverse coin, love works the same way. You just start perpetuating that motion in your mindset. And it starts opening up your mind and your heart in ways that are unimaginable to most people. And that's, you know, that's tragic. Because of conditioning and indoctrination, they've been led into the corral, and they're waiting for the slaughterhouse. Through their diet, through their mindset, through their information loads. I mean, it's tragic.
For anybody listening that, anybody that's on this thread is obviously going on this journey on some level, whether you're just starting or you've been on this for many years. And that's part of the journey. Is it's very sad realizing that you cannot change anybody. You cannot heal anybody. When we first come upon this, we feel that I found the gold. Let's all get this gold together. And you think that now that I've realized this, everybody should realize it. And it's just a sad realization that just because you discover something doesn't even mean that everybody else around you is ready for that discovery. And the only thing that you can do is push forward by yourself on this path. And if people want to choose to walk on this path, all you can do is point your finger. All you can do is heal yourself and help other people heal themselves. And that kind of took me a while to banging my head against a stone wall for a while there, trying to get other people to wrap their head around these little nuggets of health information. Like, people have to want to help themselves.
And Gwen, you know, because I was watching you, you know, because I had great admiration for your what you were striving for.
Right, striving is the right word. Yeah.
And you know, in our conversations, I think I addressed some of that. That, you know, you had to give yourself permission to get out of your way, and because you can lead people to knowledge, but you can't make them think.
Yeah. I realized I was just pushing people away for the most part, right? By trying to force and strive and kind of force people to get them to see a certain way. Like, it took a prison's term for me to kind of change the way I thought. So it's not easy to get people to change their paradigm, you know? Yeah.
Now, I in good note, I never had to go to prison. But before I was 16 years old, I stole over 150 cars.
Holy.
You know, I mean, it was like, you know, I had no scruples. Teenager, man, I had a totally abused life as a child, and I was just connecting to what I thought were survival mechanisms.
Right.
They
right,
were
right.
all incorrect, you know, but I was a lying, cheating thief.
Mhm.
Until I discovered that I had a skill called culinary arts.
Nice.
And once I discovered that I had an ability, I started changing my behaviors.
Right. You started seeing your self-worth.
Yeah. Now, it still took a long time. Look, you know, I had such a fucked up childhood, man. I wet my bed till I was 12. I chewed my nails till they were bloody stumps until I was 28 years old. But when I started reading books like The Magic of Thinking Big, you know, How to Win Friends and Influence People, you know, Psycho-Cybernetics, you know, all of these type of mental attitude books that I started eating them for breakfast.
Wow.
And I did this for years in order to start turning my mind around and see if I could get a better handle on my fucked up thinking. You know,
And, you know, most of it is an environment. You know, get yourself out of that old environment. Get yourself thinking new things. Like that was a big part of it for me. You know. So.
yeah. Well, and you know, we can claim victimhood, but the fact is we're just being groomed to discover our worth. And no, it doesn't matter how shitty it all looks, because it is. I mean, some people maybe, but even when you look at the trust babies, you know, people that have had, they don't even have to lift a finger. They have some really disturbing problems because they haven't been trained to address them at all.
At all. Yeah, so the kids that have all that money, they're growing up without parents. They're growing up without that support system.
Exactly. They're being bought off.
There's one trauma or another, you know. And as somebody that's getting into starting to think about starting a family, you know, I think about just wanting to provide just the most balanced environment as possible, because I know how much now that being a parent is setting up that environment that your child's going to grow up in. And, you know, and just looking back at my environment where it was just like, it was a free-for-all, honestly, as far as health. You know, it was eat wherever you want, eat whatever you want, do whatever you want, and suffer the consequences. You know, I just remember having asthma the whole time growing up. And so, you know, I hope that the pendulum doesn't swing too far in the other direction, and I don't want to be too strict on my future children, but I'm definitely going to have that conscious awareness.
Well, you know, this friend that reached out to me yesterday, she's got a 3-month-old baby boy. She's got a 5-year-old daughter, and she's never given him the vaccines. You know, she's a very conscious person. And I had nothing but love and respect for her. I mean, in our conversation, my heart just opened up huge. And she's a gift. And it takes a lot of courage to, you know, buck the system. You know, we were talking about homeschooling. Now, there was time in that conversation that you either were Amish or there was always a label attached. But with the information age, you can now go totally do homeschool online at any age.
Right.
At any age.
Right.
And be totally qualified and certified and educated. Now, I have some friends that live up in Washington, and they're like in their 40s, and they have done this with their son from the get-go. Now, this young man is a awesome artist, you know, and his dad's an artist, a professional one, and they go together to all of these fairs and you know, situations where they set up their booth, and he runs the booth. The young man runs the booth while his dad,
cool.
his dad is out, you know, biz-bossing with the crowd, and they're not only selling his dad's art, but they're selling the son's art. Now, let's talk about education in that form. the skill set that this young man is being trained in is in every level. Okay, now you look at our education system, man, they're dropping out music, they're dropping out art, they're dropping everything out to just like make everybody a numbnut.
Right. You know, before the current implanted system, it used to be education stays within the family. Oh, we're a family of blacksmiths, we're a family of artists, we're a family of farmers, and the education stays within the family and it becomes highly specialized, right? You get things like prized plans and patterns that stay within the family and get refined over time and things like that, and it allowed us as separate families to become very I guess astute. I'm just basing it off the seeds that are being planted, that we're kind of starting to realize that we have been dumbed down as the citizenry. Okay, and a big part of that is this implanted education system from Prussia, this system where with doctorates and master's degrees to where, you know, if you don't have that degree, then you're not qualified to do anything. But nobody asks, like, what about the people that invented this whole thing? Where did they get their degree? No one like really wants to dig past into the history of everything, right? And that's what I've kind of done, and I can see that, wow, this whole education system was put in place to create mindless workers, mindless soldiers, people who would go to battle and die willingly, people who would spend their whole lives sitting in a cubicle. And then to educate that 1% of people with the highest level of education who are going to be allowed to run the whole system. So,
right, and they are, you know, their level of indoctrination is completely separate from the level of indoctrination of the lower classmen.
Right, exactly. And so what is the age of information doing to all of this? What is the advent of urine therapy doing to all of this? It's breaking all of it down.
Yeah, man.
It's breaking it all down.
I mean, same with the cryptocurrency and everything. It's just shifting paradigms, taking away from the centralized to a decentralized systems, so that it gives more control to people directly instead of being controlled by the system they're subjected to.
Right. I mean, let's just put it in simple terms. We don't have to get all crazy about it. We know that the U.S. healthcare is the biggest expense that we have. You know, like I don't know the numbers, but we don't need to know the numbers. We just know that healthcare is one of the biggest expenses, and we keep getting more obese. It's not getting better.
They're all in cahoots. If you look at the you look at the alphabet agencies, okay. And you look at who their corporate sponsors are. Now, these are government agencies with corporate sponsors. Now, is there a conflict of interest there? Duh.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we know who's running the show.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, you look at like all those organizations like the American Heart Association, the Cancer, and all those bullshit, you know, GMOs that are, or GNOs that NGOs, that's what I'm looking for, that are sucking, they're just sucking corporate tits, okay? And so, you go to the American Heart Association, the biggest corporate sponsors are the, you know, like the beef and cattle, pork, chicken, dairy. I mean, you know, like what? You know, what? I mean, it's just insane how we're being duped. I mean, it's just insane to me.
The idea of becoming your own practitioner, right? That's what UT means. It means becoming your own healer, and that's dangerous. If I owned a big meat company, right, or a big alcohol company, and here's this idea that can get you to probably cure alcoholism in one day.
Yes.
Honestly, it will probably cure your alcoholism today, and that is volatile. That is dangerous.
Well, anytime you're messing with the bottom line, you know, you're messing with the mafia. Now, and I was watching an interesting video last night, and it's somebody I really respect, James. You know, he was shifting like what Eisenhower was warning us about as he was exiting office, about the military-industrial complex. He was the first one to coin the phrase. Okay, but now what we're dealing with is the informational industrial complex.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
and it's way more powerful,
Yep.
even than the military,
It's the
because
next-
it's data mining. Okay.
How about the next iteration of the military-industrial complex, right? I mean, wouldn't that be the logical next step if you're the big military? Let's go digital.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. That's where it's all coming from, right? And so
Yeah.
when you realize the power behind all this, but on the other hand, you look at the power of knowledge. I mean, and in the information age, ignorance is not bliss, man. You got to get your head out of your ass because it stinks up there.
Gift wrap on top of this one is just to know that the military. So, you know, let's not forget the communication companies, RCA, and it's our Radio Corporation of America is what eventually turned into all of the television channels, starting with CBS, NBC, ABC, and then so you have AT&T, RCA. Those communication companies were born in the World Wars. Okay, so they're invented out of the need to communicate with each other on the battlefield, right? And so they were militarized companies who then established their control inside of the U.S. They never got demilitarized. These biggest corporations, what are they now known as? Comcast, AT&T,
right,
T-Mobile. These are all militarized corporations, and so when you tie that into the whole, like, nothing was given to us that wasn't on purpose, right? And then so now the advent of this whole 5G thing, we talked about the harmful radiation waves. I mean, they are the things that we're currently using to communicate to each other, but back to the whole gift wrap thing, we have this defense, this beautiful thing that when you put it on your skin, it becomes like an armor in every way imaginable against anything, even radiation waves and all the side effects that come with that. So going into the aged urine and the power of what that has or when it goes onto your skin. And this is the defense. These are the weapons. These are the shields. These are swords and shields.
Yeah, you know, I call it my pea coat. Shield. Yeah, and it does work. You know, for just one moment, because I wrote a poem yesterday. I've actually been writing a bunch lately. I wrote two yesterday, cool. and I want to share one of them just because I can. It's my show.
Let's go for it. Let's go for it. Yes. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So this is called "We Become One."
All right.
I consciously choose to free my mind and stop competition to heal mankind. Cooperation is the key, so all can be winners, just living as beings. Now, as we do this, we drop the offense and balance ourselves to halt the defense. We open our senses and we open our heart and eliminate judgment that keeps us apart. When we cooperate, we become one, which enables us to have more fun. To a new playing field from our own urination. Ha ha!
That's amazing. For urination.
And urination, baby.
That's cool, man. Well, since you went first, I'm going to go ahead and go second, and I'm going to do a little rap.
Excellent.
This is a little story that I share with the middle school that I'm hoping to start traveling to. I already shared this with about two groups, so. When I was schooling, I was mad. I wasn't good at anything, really kind of sad. I didn't join band, other kids would have laughed. I didn't do sports, I'm the shortest in the class. It wasn't long before I ended up in juvie because I gave up on myself and turned to the movies. I copied everything I saw. I even started fighting and breaking the law. I thought I was a thug. I was breaking mama's heart because she knows I was one good boy from the start. The moral of the story is you gotta be yourself. You gotta do the things that make you feel like yourself. The world needs you to just be yourself. Tell me why be like everybody else. See, when I rap, it makes me feel like I never felt. You gotta do the things that make you just wanna melt. Cause when you in your heart, you know you can do it well. This stuff is magic. When you speak, you cast a spell. I came to tell you that the words program you. From the text, Snapchat, and Instagram too. Every hashtag, like down to every post. Your life will follow what you think about the most. That's why I'm saying that you gotta be yourself. Tell me why be like everybody else.
Right on. I love you, bro.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
You know,
yeah, so
you are, you know, you're on the, I really do believe you are on the right path, that you're clear, and your audience is waiting for you to appear. And behind you and your message and your mission, my friend. I honor you.
Yeah, I thank you so much. That means a lot, coming from a poet such as yourself. I really believe that all these conversations that we have, these are like honestly, like coaching sessions for me, because I always leave so much more encouraged to keep going, because honestly, I'm constantly criticizing myself. I'm always looking at what didn't go right, what could have been, and judging myself for how it's not perfect. And so just to have that it gets me to want to keep going, even though I don't always believe in myself.
Yeah, and we are our own worst enemies. You know,
Right.
nobody goons me better than me. But
Right, exactly.
but here's the thing. Now, and this is important, is that you're going to repeat lessons on Schoolhouse Earth until you learn them. Okay? So,
Yeah, that's right.
we'll just recycle the same bullshit over and over and over until we wake up and realize what's going on. Now, wisdom can come at any time, and wisdom is gained through experience. So the more we experience life, I mean, we can read and learn, we can listen and learn, we can watch and learn, but true wisdom really starts to come from your direct experience and realizing the power that lives within. And until, you can read about this stuff. Like I said, I was reading 3 to 5 books on a regular basis for years.
Right.
And so I win that knowledge is experiencing the knowledge.
That's a big one.
And so,
That's a big one.
and so here's the point of all of that, is that no matter what you think, no matter what you are doing, shit happens. It happens to all of us. It happens every day. Now, the only thing that changes is how we perceive it, how we address it, how we handle it, how we ingest it, digest it, or express it. That's what changes, and that's where the wisdom comes in.
That's where the progress comes in.
That's where you move ahead. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you're going to repeat the lessons until learned.
Right.
So I want to take 1 second here to say, hey, hey, Plain, Frederick, Diana, thank you for all of you people that are joining in the conversation with us, and I appreciate it. Nothing
Thank
but
you guys
love.
for joining.
Yeah,
I love you
yeah.
guys.
I mean,
Thank you for
I'm
listening
getting
in.
all these pop-ups on my screen, and I don't want to touch anything because God knows I already lost I lost the
wanted to
Facebook already.
I wanted to join online, but I wanted to get my computer off so I can kind of focus in on the conversation.
Hey, I just got greetings from Kalo in Brazil.
Hey, what's going on, Brazil?
Hey,
How y'all
Brazil.
doing in Brazil?
Diana, hello. I love you dearly, my friend. UK is here.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and this is the beauty of it all. Greetings from Canada. Hi, Glenn. I really, I moved so deeply that you people are out there. And I don't mean you people. Well, maybe I do. Like, you're a nation. The UT people, they're coming in loud and clear. And I mean, it's so moving to me to realize, we're not alone anymore.
All right, well, now that we got people chiming in, let's talk about how, the urine, let's try to give people some gems here and talk about how urine really unlocks the creativity, because, unleashing my creativity has been kind of something I've been struggling with and thinking about for a long time now. And what I'm realizing is there is no disconnection between your health and your creativity. And because your body is like a filter that your creative energy locked up, constricted, no breathing, low quality breathing, low quality oxygen. How can you shine through with that creative energy? And so the year in therapy for me has been able to kind of not only unlock those emotional hang-ups, you know, humbling yourself, realizing that all these things like time and age do not matter, but in a physical standpoint, unblocking those energetic pathways, the blood flow, the oxygen, the things that you need to really be able to create. You know, all this poetry, it's flowing through on the back end of this practice. You know, because I was constricted and locked up emotionally and energetically, and I wasn't writing. If I made music, it was just emulating the frequency and vibrations of what was popular at the time. So that means just making music talk about what everybody else is talking about. You know, that's not creating. That's not anything. That's
living in a vacuum.
Living in a vacuum, exactly.
Yeah, you're just being sucked in by a cultural conspiracy and that kind of cooperation. This is why I just stopped all the noise, because I realized that all of that was being propagated, you know, all of it. Movies, I mean, all of it. All 100%. Of it.
Yeah, 100%.
And so, you know, if you want to live under a constant propaganda agenda, and it is an agenda, and it is cooperation, and by our consumerism, we comply, and we just become a part of that herd. And if you really want to open up your brain, you got to clean this up in here. Now, most people don't even understand what a pineal gland is. A pineal gland is the true connector. It's supposed to be fluid. And in the majority of brains, it's hardened like a rock because of calcification, and then it crystallizes, and there is your dumb down. Now, this is caused by fluoridation, chlorine, aluminum, barium. All of these ingredients, the food we eat, the water we drink, all of these things lead to that calcification of the pineal gland. Now, when we open that up, when it becomes fluid again, most people don't even realize that the third eye is not just a, you know, metaphor. There's actually a third eye inside our brain.
Well, okay, so for the medical people out there, this is the same gland that releases melatonin. So it's the same thing. If this gland is calcified, you're not getting that melatonin every night, which is what recovers your body. So if you're coming from the Western mindset, it's not even spiritual. This is your melatonin production that we're talking about too.
Right.
So there's that, you know.
Yeah. It on the physiological scale, most people, they just don't even know. So, you know, when you actually look at your third eye and understand what it is and how it works, it's a cone that reverses from, like our two eyes are cones that go out, and right behind them there's a cone that goes in. And so it's a complete receptor connection. And when that connection is cut off, hey, we're kind of fucked. Hey, Norway!
The whole thing was set up to fuck up our connection. The whole thing.
By design.
It is. And so the whole battle, the whole frequency war is about unblocking the things that are messing with our connection, you know, and that battle rages on, and it's going to continue on with all this new technology coming out, you know, and those who are aware of what's happening with, you know, the fact that we are these waves, and we are these what's it called, lines and waves. That's who we are. We are frequencies, and these things are affecting us in a lot.
I mean, this is the new frontier. You know, welcome to Babylon. And if we don't take responsibility for ourselves, then, you know, it's like if you're not willing to think for yourself, somebody else gladly will. I mean, that
Right.
is just the way the system is designed.
That's where we live now. That's
Yeah.
where we live now. It's you gotta think for yourself. You and your family have to think for yourselves when it comes to your health and your well-being and your proliferation. We're not relying on people anymore to do it for us. That was the old generation, not generation, sorry to be ageist, but that was the old paradigm.
Well, yeah, and it's a mindset. Yeah, and where that mindset settled in. I mean, you can be conscientiously dead lifetime.
Yes.
Or you can be a totally awakened, spirit guide at that same age. I mean, look at how they groom the Dalai Lamas.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just, just to pick an example.
Yeah.
So
environment.
Yeah, and it is. I mean, it's simply based on being responsible. Owning our own bullshit. Now, I have a whole system that I am working on, and I'm going to call it,
That shit.
you got to enemize that shit. And I don't care if it's shit in the brain, shit in the heart, or shit in your bowels. Because if you are not running with clean mind, clean heart, or clean physiological system, you're full of shit. Period.
That's right. That's the triangulation right there.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of responsibility to unplug those areas of our existence so that we can be free to receive and also to give. And it is all cyclomatic. Just like love. You can't give what you haven't got. So if you don't self-love yourself, all your, I love yous are empty platitudes. It's bullshit.
Yes. You gotta love yourself, man.
Gotta do it.
That's so true.
It starts from the core.
And so, as you said, this is a constant triangulation of balance in your physical body. Three things. I mean, you talk about enemizing that shit, and what does UT do? It hits all three of those things, man.
Totally.
It hits all three. It'll clean your bowels. It'll get you thinking straight. It'll clear up the foggy brain that we get from eating this shit, and I wouldn't know how my brain gets foggy when I eat shit if I wasn't still struggling with it. It's something I know because I struggle with it. It's not because I'm above it. It's because I'm still going through realizing that, holy crap, the stuff I eat makes me think foggy.
Yeah.
Or think clearly,
Yes.
And UT will clean that up, and it also clears up the emotions. It gets you to humble yourself, to stop being so just asshole tight. That was me. That was me before UT, and it allows you to open up. That's me when I'm sharing my poetry. Is I'm opening that heart, and letting that creativity flow through the heart where it should be coming from.
Yeah. Well, to me, what urine therapy totally represents, is a deep, deep connection with God. Now, what that means to me, it's my golden ORIN drink. It was a gift. ORIN is a gift. Your urine is a gift. And once you understand how that cycle was given to us, we were born in the amniotic fluid, it's urine. Anybody, if anybody ever says to me, well, that's ridiculous, that's disgusting, I said, look, you wouldn't even be here if you didn't do urine therapy for 9 months in the womb. You wouldn't even be having this conversation.
You're in.
Yeah, you're in. Hey, you in? Yeah, I'm in. You're in? Yeah, I'm in.
It's so interesting going into these topics that weren't taught to us in school, like the idea about sexual energy and what it is, and not just thinking about it in a spiritual standpoint, but marrying all three concepts together. For example, the idea that cerebrospinal fluid and semen and all of that is all the same fluid. And so what would that put urine? It would put urine in the same category. There's cerebrospinal fluid in your urine, and all of this is all just kind of connected. There is a connection between all of these different fluids. And so what does that say about, you know, all of these things like Mantak Chia writing an entire book and series about preserving your sexual energy and preserving your ejaculation and using that as a creative energy? You know, it makes sense, and that creates babies. But if you learn to cycle it back up, and Jim Carrey recently released a video talking about cycling your sexual energy, so now it's on the mainstream.
Yeah.
If you can cycle it back up into your brain, you can actually get it back up to your throat, you know, to where you can taste it and then bring it all the way back up to your crown, you know. So these type of things of learning how to cycle your energy, I mean, UT is a prime tool in all of these practices. I mean, the new, I mean, I guess to me it's new. To me, it's an awakening. To somebody else, it's a recycling of knowledge, right? Because again, the Chinese have been writing about this stuff for thousands of years. Clinical, experimental knowledge on these different types of things. So it's just cool realizing that there's more to it than what we've been shown, right? And you watch enough movies and you think that the Western schooling, Ivy League colleges, they got it all. You think that they know what there is to know. You realize that, well, the internet is actually breaking all that down.
Yeah.
Go out and get it. Discern it. You know, and then, of course, experience.
Well, I was having a fun little ping pong with Gerald Roth this morning on Messenger. And, you know, the bottom line is that our urine actually represents our total ancestry. Our fathers, 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 and mothers, mothers, mothers. I mean, so when you take us into our whole core of existence, we're not alone. We are our ancestors, and we are recycling, we are regenerating by utilizing this very simple understanding and practitionering.
I mean, when you just to the knowledge they already told us in Western, they said matter, it can only change forms, right?
Yeah.
Energy can only change forms. Water can only change forms. So tie that in with this idea that this water has been cycling and cycling and cycling for as far back as we can remember, because that's what water does. Think about it. Water cycles.
Yeah.
It's cycling it on Earth, cycling in our body, and yeah, this is a physical connection to that ever so spiritual idea of our ancestors and the timeline, and yeah, hey, it's our connection to the past and the future, you know, when you talk about manifesting and visualizing.
Yeah, well, you know why John Armstrong called it the water of life. Mm-hmm. You know, that's pretty straight. And, you know, how it's been correlated to the fountain of youth, which I appreciate and understand. I mean, you look at a picture, Monica Shute posted a picture the other day. Her husband took with her and her beautiful little doggie. And you look, this woman is not 43. Okay, she looks like she's 18. I mean, it's just, I mean, 100%. You look at her, I mean, she's just a classic, flawless, beautiful.
Oh yeah, it is the fountain of youth. In my mind, this is it. And it's just the irony of the fountain of youth was sitting under your nose is not lost on me. I mean, it's something that I laugh at every day. It's like, holy crap, we have it already. But what it also does is it gets me to respect the strength of the social conditioning.
Yes.
Because holy crap, the solution has been in our freaking pants. People don't want to put their hands on it because they sincerely believe that it's toxic waste. That is a level of conditioning that I can only respect at this point when I learn about it, you know?
Yeah, well, and it's like, you know, oh, you know, you go to the bathroom, you got to wash your hands. Well, you should just piss on your hands and rub them. They'll be more sterile and more clean.
You're better off pissing on your hands and rubbing that on everything.
Yeah.
To be cleaner.
It's true, because then you go and you got all these Dow and Union Carbide chemical bullshit, Johnson & Johnson horse shit, you know, and then it's poison. It's skin poison. Right? What's that?
A little bit of surface research, right, into these companies that are giving us all these beauty products will flip the script on you really fast. You know, when you realize that there's hormone disruptors in all of these beauty products and stuff like that. You know, that We're just trying to clean our hands. Well, you're better off taking orange peels and rubbing them under your armpits.
Yeah.
For deodorant, you know, things like this. Yeah, it's interesting and amazing and
Well,
terrifying. At the same
here's
time,
here's another thing that really is it's hard for people to wrap around this knowledge, is that urine industry. Now they have horse farms and cow farms that are only set up for urine collection. They're not there to make milk. They're not there. They are set up to just collect urine. Also, the guy that owns the biggest porta potty company in America goes, when you pee in the urinals inside, they go into a separate tank. They don't go into the main tank with all the shit. They're farming it. And why?
collecting it.
Because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. They're selling that urine. Okay, and here we bring it in. This is where, you know, you think about age, sex, forget about it. They're collecting all of that urine industry, the medical industry, and the cosmetic industries. All of these areas are buying billions of dollars to actually turn around and sell back to you. Now, what kind of horse shit is that?
It's horseshit. It's horseshit because our urine is gold when you look at it under the context of what the pharmaceutical industry can do with it, what the cosmetic industry can do with it, what the food industry can do with it, what the fitness industry can do with it. Now, skincare industry, like, this stuff is gold. We just don't realize it. We're pissing it away. See?
Yeah.
So that's the other awakening is, holy crap, like, what else can I make with this thing? I've made a sunburn salve so far, and it made my sunburn go away. 3 days. Like, there is an unlimited amount of stories of what people are doing with their own perfect medicine. It's a world that you can dive into forever and ever and keep going, and it's a reawakening.
Yeah.
As I see it.
Well, and you know, I loop, you know, generally most days, not all days, but most days I loop.
Just
but,
days when you want to feel energetic, right?
Yeah, and the thing is that, man, I am a manufacturer, man. I can piss and piss and piss, okay? I can, even when I'm looping, in addition to that, I can collect a half, 3/4, and I've had days up to a gallon. Now, right now, I have 16 gallons.
Wow.
That I'm aging. And growing.
That's amazing.
And I store them under my bed, okay? They're all there underneath the platform on the bed. And they're all breathing. None of them are sealed. They're all breathing. Now, this is where it really gets phenomenal. You would think that when you lifted up that plywood or whatever, that it would just reek. There is no smell. Zero. You can't smell it. It's amazing. And the way I look at it, see what...
As it ages.
Yeah. All the smell thing, that's all bullshit. The taste thing, bullshit. You know, I tell people, I said, look, if I was out looking for a tasty beverage, I wouldn't go and think, okay, I'm going to go drink pee for a tasty beverage. Although it can taste like sweet coconut water, because I've tasted it. It can taste like pure water. I've tasted it. There's times it tastes like gross. Now, did it stop me? No. Never. I really dark. Sometimes, depending on what your body's processing and detoxing. So, am I going to stop because, oh God, no. You know, because I am drinking it for my health. It's a preservative. It is an elixir. It is golden ORIN drink. Drink that stuff, man. Drink your pee. I saw comments this very morning. You know, they come in on the groups. It's like, I'm brand new and I'm just getting started. Is there any way I can, like, you know, hide the smell and, you know, da-da-da. Hey, plug your nose. You can dilute it. You could pour it in juice. You could put it in your water. You can do all mess around. You're just shortchanging yourself. Just drink the pee. Because you know why? Because piss is the shit, man. This is the stuff that is working. This is the stuff that will change your life.
Right. Yes. And if there's anybody out there listening that still hasn't tried it, it's a hell of a weight loss tool. Holy crap. If you want to lose your weight instantly, like, let's just forget about the whole runaround. I've been a trainer for 5 years. I'm tired of giving people the runaround, but I still can't come out and just say what to do, what really to do, unless they contact me on a one-on-one basis, you know?
Right.
Looking for more, then maybe I'll open the door to you. But, spend a weekend looping your urine. Tell me how much weight you lost in one weekend, because holy crap. If I have a terrible week of eating, this thing regulates me pretty quickly there. And yeah, I mean, take that information and do what you want with it, because you can definitely do some harm with that info, right? You can say, all right, I'm going to a buffet and I'm going to eat at buffets every day and not gain weight. Probably be hard on your body.
Yeah.
But yeah, this stuff is that powerful.
Yeah, and when I had this neck surgery, I weighed 246 pounds. And that was larger than life. I was wearing extra large everything. When I finally started to heal, and it took me eight months to heal my neck, just so you know that where I could discontinue my daily exercises to re-strengthen my neck, but I started just naturally losing weight. By the time I went, it was like about 2 months, maybe 3 months, I went from 246 down to 226. As I continued with my new regiment, because now my neck was feeling better, I was back to walking, I was starting to down to 206. Then I went vegan.
Wow.
Then I went vegan, and so I dropped down from 206 to about 196. When I came along with the urine therapy, and I started doing all the looping and started everything aggressively as I did, I ended up dropping all the way down to 144. Now that's a 102-pound differential right there, okay? Now, 144 is a little bit lean on a body of my height, you know. But what I realized, that I wasn't withering away. I was detoxing away. It was a healthy thing. I was just getting rid of shit in my body that needed to go away. So, as I started to come back into the curve, now I can eat anything or nothing. I can do anything, and I maintain 160 to about 164 pound constant. Doesn't matter what I do. Doesn't matter what I do.
So what that equals on a big scale is that the UT allowed you to reach a state of homeostasis.
Yes.
A level of balance, right? And it took a process. It wasn't overnight. You had to go through that weight loss and then that healthy weight, and then your body stabilizes to where you can either eat or not eat, and your weight doesn't change.
I mean, my skin was hanging on me like a cheap suit.
How interesting. This is the same thing that they talk about happens when you go on the fruit diet. Now, I've already read posts and people claiming or saying, which is what I agree with, that this UT speeds up what already happens from eating a fruit diet or going on a fruit juice fast, right? This is kind of a next level up, actually, from just doing alone, right? This causes you to go through that same process, that detox faster.
You know, let's face it, detox is and never was and never will be a pretty thing. It's not pretty. You know, I mean, but man, when you're hip to it, when you're onto it, when you start, I mean, and we haven't even touched on enemas. Yeah. Okay, and aged urine enemas are the shit, man. That stuff will just clean you out. I mean, it's just amazing how that works. Amazing. Point I want to make. When you're down with the process, all is good. You don't freak out. You don't start worrying about it. You just allow it, trust it, love it, and go through the process, because on the other side of all that processing, you are going to come out smelling like a rose.
And you know, and let's be honest about the goal here. The goal is youthfulness. It's working for and maintaining that level of youthfulness. There's no age to youthfulness. It is a state of mind, first and foremost.
Yes.
Okay? It is a state of openness. It is a state of playfulness. These are all things that contribute to healing. Okay? If you can't play, if you can't laugh, if you can't have fun, you're not going to be doing a lot of healing anytime soon. These are all different parts of ultimately the same thing. I mean, what were we doing that whole weekend at the Water of Life Symposium? We were doing a whole bunch of laughing.
Yeah.
That much.
Well, and it's, you know, I have people ask me, you know, well, like, where are the videos on the training and this, that, and the other? The training was fine, but what was important about it, and AK asked me this early on in the months prior to the symposium, what I thought that symposium meant. What did it mean to me? And I said, I think it's going to be the greatest communion. It's going to be an opportunity for, you know, fellow pea drinkers to get together and know they're not isolated. They're not alone. They're not total weirdos. There actually is a community out there. And so why he sends out videos about all the love and the communion, because that's the point.
Yep.
That is the point. We can get knowledge all day, every day. We can read books. We can watch YouTube.
You know what? That knowledge is sitting in your pocket. Let's be honest. It's about the communion. It's about connecting with people, which is gone in today's society, right? It is dry as far as love and connection. And so, I mean, if anything, that's the real gold there.
Yeah, yeah. And so, you know, with that said, let's give a plug, you know, hey, you know, museum will be in Vegas. It will be on September 21st, 2nd, and 3rd in September, you know, so,
yes.
You know.
I think we're both probably going to be speaking there.
Yeah, you know, you know, I seem to speak no matter where I am.
Hey, I'm starting to be on that same tip.
You know, I mean, you know, hey, you know, you can't shut me up, and you know, and I am enthused, you know, and I want to really give a real shout out to AK, Anthony A.K. King, who is the founder of the symposium, who has had this vision and has, you know, put it all on the line, you know, and so, you know, thank you, Diana. and so, you know, he is my brother. You know, we walk on the same plane, and, you know, I adore the brother. And more importantly, I appreciate and so love the people that he brought together in that event for us to commune together. It was brilliant, and it was beautiful, and it was organic. It was live. It wasn't all structured and hung up an agenda. It changed moment to moment to moment, didn't it?
It was real.
It was totally real. It was amazing.
You know, it doesn't matter what you expect to get out of any event that you invest in. It's non-existent these days. You're getting a whole bunch. I mean, I'm just going to speak on the conferences that I've been to, whether it's business or fitness related. You're getting a whole bunch of artificial stuff and ideas and people putting stuff together and trying to sell it to you. But at this conference, there was just a bunch of people sharing their reality and sharing their truth. And it's a breath of fresh air, quite honestly, you know.
And there were seasoned UT people. There were people that had never even heard of it and hadn't ever tried it. So it was really remarkable, you know, how you know, in touch with everything was happening moment to moment to moment to moment. And then after each event, I mean, on the Friday night, we were up on the 12th floor until way after midnight, just chatting and talking. The second night, the same thing happened. After on Sunday, we all ended up in my room, and it was just organic. It was just live. It was just happening, and Man, you can't put a price on that. And speaking of price, the price of that event's only $35.
Yeah, $35 for a groundbreaking experience, better than Tony Robbins.
Good Lord. You know, people go and spend thousands and thousands just to do the seminar, not even mentioning their hotel, their travel, their food, nothing.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, come on now. You know, it seems like such a far away, you know, drop all that. Get with the program. Communing is the key. Realizing you're not alone. We are one.
Yep. Connections are the key.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, while we only have a few minutes left, Gerald, do you have it off the top of your head to just recite the one people, one...
Well, yeah, well, if you would be so kind as to assist me with the one voice, then I'll go ahead and go with the one.
Yeah. I just love that piece, and he shared this at the symposium.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to share this on stage at the Water of Life Symposium. So when I say one people, Casey, you're going to say one voice.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Okay. One people.
One voice.
One people.
One voice.
Peace is always on the way. You just got to make a choice. One people.
One voice.
One people.
One voice.
Dreams are always on the way if you just listen to the voice. One people.
One voice.
One people.
One voice.
Look to your left. Look to your right. One people.
One voice.
One people.
One voice.
These are the friends that you got for life. One people.
One voice.
One people.
One voice.
Write down those goals. Start sharing that dream. One people.
One voice.
One people.
One voice.
Why do it by yourself when you can do it with your team? I could never do this without you. One people.
One voice.
One people.
One voice.
Then when you know, then all your dreams will come true. One people.
One voice.
One people.
One voice.
And when you're thinking that it's gonna fall through, one people.
One voice.
One people.
One voice.
Take one step. Work on you. Work on you. I said drink of you.
Ha ha ha! Thank you so much, my brother.
There it is. Thank you, man. Thanks for giving me a platform and an opportunity to share my stuff. Always looking to do more of that.
My door is always open to you, my friend. Always, you know. And Diana, I see all your and stuff, and I thank you.
Questions, yeah.
Oh yeah, people have been. I mean, they're back and forth from Norway, Brazil, Canada, the U.S. Man,
awesome.
They're all over the place. I mean, my screen gets all filled up with all this stuff. Anyway,
if anybody wants to contact me, I just want to throw my email out there. If anybody either wants me to come speak at their school or just want to talk about health and fitness, the email is whycommittofit@gmail.com. Just one word, whycommittofit. Spelled how it sounds there.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah. And so anyway, Diane, to answer your question, it's the Westgate Hotel in Las Vegas. And that'll be in September next year. And I tell you, I can't wait. I mean, I can wait. I will wait. I am waiting.
Anybody out there listening that hasn't been, be ready for an experience of a lifetime. I'm not saying it's going to be like a rave and you're going to come out and you're going to party, but you're going to get an experience that you hardly get in this day and age, okay? Amount of love and connection in one room is just, it's breathtaking, honestly.
Oh, and while I still have a couple of moments, there's something that I want to bring up. Now, on the very first show, I threw it out there about my ORIN Oracle book, and the only thing that prevents me from getting it published is that I need the initial funds to take it to the publisher. Now, I made an offering that the first 100 people that donate $25 to the PayPal account, which is PayPal Weedu. Now, if you choose to do that, you will be guaranteed a signed and numbered copy of that book when it's published, and you'll be the. What's that?
paypal.me/.
Weedu. Weedu.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to, I want to continue because I mentioned it last week and several people offered up, but there's been absolutely nothing showing up in the PayPal. And so I just want to repeat that because, you know, the reason I decided I was going to publish the book is because people kept saying, where's the book? Where's the book? Where's the book?
Right,
now, I have tons of material. I have no shortage of material. And the ORIN Oracle, as it sits, see, I have my own copy because I this piece, okay?
Right.
But in order for it to become, it needs some infusion. I don't have those funds to do it myself. I just
And,
right
you know,
now.
people need to just be reminded. So you're probably gonna have to be better off just saying that at every episode because, you know, it's not that people don't want to, but a lot of people just are busy, you know, and they just need that extra reminder that, oh, $25 to this address right here, and that'll push things along.
Yeah. And I'm willing to do that, you know, and it's not like some kind of shameless self-promotion. It's something that I wouldn't have done. I mean, I was just writing the poems like I always do. You know, I mean, this is just something I do. So,
this is you and this is your art.
Yeah.
And you know, the artist that doesn't, you know, the artist that doesn't hustle is not going to eat, basically, you know, because that's just the truth right there, you know?
Yeah.
So
here we are. We've made it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was easy.
Yeah, I so love you, brother, for sharing in this opportunity with me. Because I love you dearly, and you are awesome, man.
Anytime, like I said, these are coaching sessions for me. I'm upgraded because of them, and yeah. So anytime we can do it again, I'd love to. All right.
Yeah, man. Yeah, indeed. And so for next week, we're going to be coming live from Salvador de Bahia, Brazil, with Tony Hill. He's going to be calling us from the beach.
Nice.
And we're going to be talking about yoga and urine therapy and all those kind of things. So until then, thanks for joining us today. And bye to all you people. Thank you for participating and coming in from all over the plane. I really, really love you. Thanks so much. Now, you know what I really, really want to do now? I want to go pee. I've been sitting here with cats in my lap, and I've been thinking, oh man, I really need to move.
I've been thinking, oh man, I really need to move. Nice. All right.
Okay, man.
All right, bye, man.
Love you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.